Coming to you live from the Mistopheles Studios, it's Dark Fringe Radio.
I try to move, but my body won't work. I try to talk, but I lose all words. All that ever slips from my face are teeth and dreams I can't take. Waking from, I face the day.
Hey everybody, thanks for joining us on another edition of Dark Fringe Radio. I am your host, Will Martinez. And I can't do this without my co-host, Jay Galosi. What's up, brother? How you doing?
I'm good. How are you doing?
Very good, man. And man, we got a good episode coming up for you guys coming up right now here in a little bit. But I wanted to give a big shout out to everybody that is following us on Facebook. Jay, today we've made some strides on Facebook, and today we've actually hit 5,000 followers today.
That's crazy.
Yeah,
That's
man.
crazy.
So yeah, it's crazy. And I want to thank everybody that's followed us and supported the show and continue to do so. I really do appreciate share and like all our stuff. That's the best way you can support the show. Now we're actually going to start hopefully getting monetized through Facebook, and so people that see our things, they can actually send us stars. That's what they're called. And the more stars we get, the better it is for us. So hopefully we'll start seeing some of that coming in the near future. But I wanted to say thank you for everybody for following us on Facebook. It's been a huge undertaking, and we've seen a lot of strides being made there as of late. So wanted to say thank you. But also, we are also on Instagram and Twitter, and of course YouTube. If you guys can help us out on the YouTube, that would be awesome. If you guys could do 25% of what you did for Facebook in the last 3 weeks on our YouTube, that would be huge. I mean, we would really appreciate that. So make sure you go to our YouTube at Dark Fringe Radio, like and subscribe. It's very important you guys do that. So check out all our stuff. All our episodes are there too. So you'll be able to check us out in a lot of different topics and things that we decide to pontificate upon, Jay.
Don't
Yeah.
do that one.
No, you don't like that? That's not good, no? No bueno, huh? No? Oh, okay.
No,
Well, listen.
no bueno.
No. That's do not touch, right?
Yeah, I don't think the word pontification is really
Mhm.
in your general daily vernacular. I don't
No,
think
it's not.
add
It's not. I like to
add
throw it out
for
every once in a
special
while.
syntax. I don't think you need
Yeah.
to. I think we'll use that kind of stupid bullshit to me, and only because I've spent time studying it.
Yeah,
I'm a
there
nerd.
you go. There you go. Well, Jay,
Nerd.
listen, please like and follow and subscribe to all our stuff. We really appreciate it. And of course, our website, darkfringeradio.com. Make sure you go there. That's where all the good stuff is, Jay. That's where all the cool kids are hanging out these
Go.
days.
There you go.
That's where
it's
they're all
about.
hanging out. That's where they're
That's where
hanging
they
out,
are.
bro. Yeah.
That's
Remember,
where
it used to be the Palace? Not anymore.
No,
it's
it's
fucking
like-
Dark Fringe Radio.
place is gone. That place
Remember
is
Palace?
apartment complex. No, it's
Furniture store.
out of business baby furniture.
Yes. Yeah. What a shame, huh? What a shame. Anyways, for those that don't know what we're talking about, you have to be local to know what we're talking about. You'll know on the know. But anyways, listen, Jay, we have an action-packed episode tonight. We're going to be talking about Native American creatures and monsters. Now, listen, yeah, listen, this is a good one. I like this because, who are the most forgotten people of all time? It's the Native Americans, in my opinion. All the stuff that they had to deal with, and their history and the things that they believe in and their culture.
Yeah.
A lot of times it's just overlooked, right, Jay? In my opinion, I mean, I know we've given them all these X, Y, and Z things, but at the same time, it's just like a lot of their stuff has just been written off of history, and a lot of people, right, Jay?
The thing I think that gets me is we tend to forget, especially when we're going to school and you're being taught the general stuff that you're being taught. Not that what you're taught is wrong necessarily, but they do. It's like they begin at 1776. They begin when we became the United States of America. And that's not really where American history starts. American history starts way back with the Native Americans. And a lot of their traditions, they understood the land a lot better than we do even still today. There's a lot of things. They've definitely been a overlooked and subjugated portion of the population, and it's a shame because they've got
It is a shame.
beautiful artwork. They've got some amazing rituals. They've got some just great heritage, great things, and
Absolutely,
and we should really take a better look at that.
I think so too, Jay, and that's why we're going to get into the subject tonight. Again, I think it's a subject that a lot of people overlook. Again, like we just talked about, and again, when it comes to the paranormal, which we like to talk about here, and this is a very paranormal-esque type episode tonight. The Native Americans are really into that. I mean, they talk about a lot of the spirits and maybe cryptids that roam the fucking forest and have a lot to do with their beliefs and structures and all that stuff. So again, we're going to be getting into all that here in a little bit. But first, Jay, we got to get into some, of course, Dark Fringe news. So you ready for the Dark Fringe news? You ready to tap into that Dark Fringe news, Jay?
Always. Right here.
All right. There you go. Take it in, straight in the vein, right?
Great. Do it.
There you go. Well, Jay, tonight, since we're going to be a more paranormal-esque type show tonight, I really wanted to talk about stuff that was in the same type of vein, of course. And tonight, the first story is man convinced that he captured a ghost roaming around his apartment kitchen, and the footage is pretty convincing. So this is one of those footage.
You're going to show.
Yeah. Yeah, Jay. I know you hate this because you start seeing this shit and then you
I do.
You motherfuck me later.
All right.
I get text messages from Jay. I get text messages. Hold on. Pause. I get text messages from Jay after I send him these videos and we talk about these videos, motherfucking me like motherfucker. It is unbelievable. I swear to you, Jay's just motherfucking me the whole night because he just has that video in his head and just replaying in his mind and just can't get it out of his brain. But go ahead, Jay.
So let me expound on my friend.
There we go. Talk about me and my fucking words, pontification.
Yeah, I said it right though.
Okay.
And used it in proper context.
Okay.
Anyways, neither here nor there.
Go ahead.
So
there you go.
Here's what happens, guys. We usually do these things fairly late at night. Most nights I tend to be up very late at night.
That is true. I will give you that, Jay. Go ahead.
I don't sleep much, 4 or 5 hours a day. That's good. That's all I need. So what happens in those hours after I'm done with work and the children are in bed and I'm either studying or doing whatever, certainly not looking at stuff for Dark Fringe. What happens is I enjoy the that's totally William. I enjoy the devil's lettuce.
Yes.
So much like the people we are studying this evening, sometimes you get a little extra high on that stuff, and then you start to see things, and you start to feel things, and you start to imagine things, and you start to just
the paranoia starts to set in.
100%. Now I know I'm good.
If you were thinking about cops earlier, now you're thinking about fucking ghosts.
Yeah. It's always this kind of shit. So then next thing I know, it's 1 o'clock in the morning, and I could swear there's somebody because I'm in a dark garage right behind me. And then I start motherfucking Will. And that's when he starts getting because I know I'm good. I know there's no problem. But for some reason, my senses are heightened because I'm a little extra high. So I start, motherfucker. All right.
You ready, Jay?
Go ahead.
All right. Let's video this bitch up. Ready?
Ready.
Ooh. You seen that, Jay?
Yeah, it's crazy.
Yeah, look at that night video. Like you could see the night footage right there. Like you'd still see the fucking person that was standing there.
Fucking crazy.
Hold on. Yeah, that's a little wild there. Hold on a second. I don't know if there was any.
No, thank you. No, thank you.
Look at that, Jay.
You look like me. No, thank you. You look like me.
Wow,
Look
bro.
at me.
Listen, if I saw that in the kitchen, bro, I'm ready to fight. I mean, it's on. I mean, there's a person there in the kitchen, and
what I'm
we're
saying,
throwing
dude.
down, bro.
Okay.
We're throwing down.
So-
We're throwing down.
All right. So I've
Go
long
ahead, Jay.
said, and this should be probably thrown on a t-shirt for us. You can't double leg a ghost, Holmes.
No, you can't. But you can try.
No. I mean,
You can try. You
sure.
can try.
Yeah.
Yeah, try.
Why would you?
I mean,
It's-
if
you
you're
can
gonna
throw
go
as many
out,
ones
if you're
as
gonna
you
go
like.
out, how are you gonna go out? You're gonna go like a man, Jay? I mean, throwing a double, or are you gonna go out just hitting, taking a hit? I mean, come on.
Okay, well, first off, I'm not sure why you're talking like I have to go out.
Here we go. Here's Jay. Here we go.
Okay.
Okay, so what do you suggest? Let me rephrase my question to you, Jay. What
Yeah.
would you suggest in a situation as such? How about that?
Yeah, you take a breath.
Okay.
You find something to make sure you're in touch with reality,
Mhm.
and you move very.
By that time, you're already
careful.
dead. But go ahead. Go ahead.
Well, listen. If it comes
Thinking
quick,
about
then it
all
comes
this
quick,
shit.
Whatever happens.
Yeah.
Okay. You forget. I've seen some crazy shit, and that's what I did. I took a deep breath.
I listen.
I stared
That's
it
why
down.
I ask you. That's why I ask
I
you.
made sure I was in
What
touch
do you
with my
do?
own personal reality, and then something caught my eye, and it was gone. Okay.
Right.
Now, had it
right.
started walking into the car, I would have hit the gas and screamed like a bitch. Yes.
Listen, I mean, at the end of the day, you listen, if you see something like that, that's
Yeah,
pretty convincing
totally.
that
You're gonna
something's
scream,
going
like,
on
yeah.
there. Yeah, I mean, so yeah, there's this thing called
scary shit.
pareidolia, where you see like faces and things and patterns in walls, and mainly you see them in walls. That's usually where, or like buildings and stuff like that. You know, you
Toast.
kind of make a it's again, they say it's something that our eyes do, and they make faces out of anything, eyes and a mouth or whatever. But I mean, that video, bro, that wasn't no like trying to make out a face. That
I
was a
think-
goddamn guy standing in the corner looking like a goddamn crackhead. No,
Yeah, no, I think that was a little different. I think
right?
what you and I are kind of both referencing, me certainly jokingly, is more symbolism. Kind of like seeing the the things and the toast and the whatnot, the dry
Right.
paint on the wall. No, this is definitely different. This is definitely that was a remnants, I believe, if you will. But what do I know?
Maybe he killed himself there. Who knows? Maybe overdosed. There. Who knows? But something left, obviously, an energy residue that
left
is staying
something-
there. Yeah.
Yeah, it left something there,
course.
or there was something very important about that particular spot. Who knows why?
Something. Who knows? Exactly, Jay. I mean, you hit the nail right on the head. I mean, it's exactly right. I mean, it's either the spot, it's either a person, or it's the way they went out, right? At the end of the day.
Yeah. Or it could be a bit of mixture of both. I mean, it was like the spot him and his chick used to hook up, and then
Maybe.
she broke up with him and started hooking up with some other dude. And
Maybe that was like
that particular moment, he did something in that spot, maybe to him, maybe to him and her.
Jay's going deep on this one there. God damn,
You
Jay, you
said
set up a whole
pontificate,
scenario on this.
William.
Yeah, go ahead.
You said
Pontificate,
pontificate. I'm just pontificate.
Pontificate, my brother. Go ahead. Go ahead.
Yeah,
Testify.
No, I've lost my moment.
No, listen, I was just going to the route that, hey, listen, that was probably the area where he fucking like shot heroin up, and you know what I mean, and ended up fucking overdosing. Maybe.
Also.
Yeah.
Also.
Again, all plausible reasons why,
Who the hell knows?
Well, listen, Jay. Yeah, I mean, again, powerful footage we see here all the time. This stuff pops up. We try to catch it on the internet, and again, a lot of it obviously is easily dismissed. This one is kind of hard because, again, you see it on their night vision as well. I don't know. It's pretty convincing.
To me, to you, to somebody who's open-minded, sure. To somebody who's curious and wants to know more, it'll start a conversation. But then you're gonna have those people that are looking and they're gonna tell you there's some kind of photography, you weren't there,
Yeah,
it's
of course.
attention,
Of
you know.
course.
And
Of
sometimes,
course.
and the problem is there are people out there that do those things and muddy those waters for genuine instances when you have
Mhm.
dimensions crossing or things like this
Right.
that are clearly has left something.
Yeah.
You got to be curious as to why.
Funny you mentioned dimensions crossing. That's actually going to be something we're going to be talking about here in a little bit when it comes to Native American, creatures and monsters. I mean, there's a pretty good correlation between um, those beings being able to jump in and out. We'll talk about that here in a little bit. You'll be able to see that. But anyways, I think that's a pretty good wrap up for Dark Fringe News. That's something paranormal that I wanted to kind of bring up. And again, that footage alone, it's pretty convincing. You know what I mean? Again, you catch it on the night vision and also in broad daylight. It's pretty convincing that you could be able to do that. So, anyways,
You know what it would convince me to do?
what was that?
Fuck out of there.
Yeah, exactly. Oh, absolutely. I mean, why wouldn't you want to leave a place like that? I mean, would you try to like capitalize on something like that, or would you really leave? Like, I mean, at the end of the day, you're
I'm
out.
out. I'm out.
You're done.
I'm
Yeah.
out. Yep.
You see that? You're good. You're
Clearly, that space means more to them than it does to me.
done. You'll break that
Okay?
lease, no problem, right?
Clearly, it doesn't belong
Yeah.
to me. I
Right.
don't need to
Right.
be here. Okay?
Yeah.
I'm
Yeah.
not about that. I'm good. I'm good.
I get it, bro.
There's other places you can go. There's other things you can do. We don't need it. We're good. Enjoy your space. I'm
gonna do my thing over there.
Yo later.
Yeah.
I do like the standing. I'm
Yeah.
trying something new tonight, guys. I'm standing up.
It's
I like
you
that.
though, because you're full of energy
I'm
and that's
very
what you do all day anyway. So you're
moved.
on your feet pretty much all the time. So yeah, it's your nature. But anyways, again, I think that's a good wrap up for Dark Fringe News, Jay. That brings us to our next, of course, segment of the evening, and that is what the F Florida man, Jay. And Jay, I know, yeah, the what, yeah, what, what the F Florida man, and that's your thing. And of course, for those that don't know, Jay looks for hours and hours on the internet researching and trying to find the most egregious criminal stories and things of fucking unbelievable just even imagination that comes out of the state of Florida. So Jay, what do you have this week for what the F Florida man?
So what the F Florida man? Oddly enough, the last few weeks as we've been talking, kind of gearing up for this episode, and we're gonna get on a more consistent basis again.
Yes.
Which is perfect. Because I have recently found that maybe because we do this so often, or maybe because I've done so many of these, or maybe because I've typed it in Google so many times. And again, I usually about 20 minutes before the show Google funny what the Florida man stories, and usually the top one is money. So it takes me usually about 30 seconds. Lately, they've been jumping at me.
Oh, really? They've been throwing the stories at you, huh, Jay?
I'll just be sitting there just scrolling through life. And
good shit?
No, I see a funny Florida stat. And I
it's
said,
good shit, though?
Use that one. I've got like 4.
That's great. That's great.
Waiting.
That's good. No, that's a good fucking source of material. That's good.
Really, really excited for the last one until the one I went with tonight. Because the one I have tonight is so what the Florida man. It's what the Florida.
There we go. All right.
Okay, this is if you wonder what it's like living in Florida, you're about to get a brief
crash course.
What it's like to deal with Floridians. So
yeah, okay.
There's a international air company called Eurowing.
Okay.
The state of Florida has fined them $225,000.
Okay.
For landing on the wrong landing at the wrong airport, and staying there on the tarmac for an extended period of time.
Okay.
4 years ago.
Okay.
So this happened 4 years ago. They just decided to go ahead and file
Sue these
something
people.
on this.
Right.
Correct. So, story goes, this international flight coming from Germany all the way to Miami International ends
Okay.
up getting diverted due to a bad thunderstorm
Okay.
to Fort Lauderdale.
I can see that. Okay.
Okay. Now, it's happening about 5:15 in the afternoon. Apparently, Fort Lauderdale didn't have a grounds crew available.
Oh, okay.
So after 10 and
Typical.
a half hours in the air.
They barely have fucking baggage crew, but go ahead.
Truth. Yeah, truth.
Take it from
True.
me. I travel a lot. Well, I used to at least, but yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, no, they don't have shit. It is a terrible airport for sure.
Mm-hmm.
So this airplane is in the air for 10 and a half hours. They are diverted to Fort Lauderdale. They land. They end up sitting on the tarmac for another 2 hours until the passengers finally called the cops to get them let out of the plane.
Like we're being detained at this point, right? Like at this point, right? Are we hostage? Like what's going on, right?
So according to Fort Lauderdale International, or Fort Lauderdale Airport, rather, they didn't have a grounds crew, so they weren't prepared. So the time the airplane sat on the tarmac, waiting for someone to show up, they were charged by the hour.
Oh. On top of that, they're going to throw salt on the wound.
And the reason why they were stuck there is because
they didn't have grounds people.
Originally they said it was because they didn't meet the FAA and customs requirements,
regulations, or whatever.
Somebody in the crew didn't have something supposedly that meant that they couldn't depart the plane until eventually they did actually have to call the cops to get them to get off the plane. Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah. And then Florida 4 years later goes, hey, you know what? You remember that one time your plane was parked here for a few hours because of a rainstorm in Miami?
Right.
That's $225,000. That's US, not Deutschmark.
Yeah. Well, listen, I'm not surprised. Not surprised. I mean, really, at the end of the day, I'm not surprised. That's Fort Lauderdale.
That's Florida.
You're taking your own life at risk.
Florida. Yeah. Well, yeah.
Well, you go through Fort Lauderdale.
Fort Lauderdale's crap.
Yeah.
Fort Lauderdale's crap. Yeah. It is a great place to party if you want to have a fantastic story to tell about a whole bunch of things that go wrong.
Yep, pretty much. Yeah. And being in a bad area where there's not much resources. But yeah, you're absolutely right, Jay. I mean, oh man. That's a crazy story, man. Could you imagine being on a plane after 8 hours, being on a plane on a tarmac for the 2 hours? And there's probably the AC's already like gone at that point. You know what I mean? There's no AC. Just sitting there, just roasting, and everybody else is like, oh.
There's families with babies.
Exactly. Yeah. Yeah.
That lavatory, those toilets.
I've been in so many flights with babies. It's so horrible sometimes.
I can't imagine.
Thank God for fucking earpods. You know what? If it wasn't for earpods where you could fucking put something in your ear and cancel out everything that's happening on the outside world, listen, if it wasn't for that, I think I would go crazy on air travel alone. It's just horrible. You know what I mean? But anyways, yeah. Well, that's a crazy fucking story, Jay, out of fucking Fort Lauderdale, of course. I'm not surprised. It's funny. Jay, Fort Lauderdale is making a resurgence in the spring break community. Can you imagine?
No.
Yeah. Remember in the 80s when it used to be a big thing?
Yeah.
Yeah. In the 80s, it was a huge thing. Absolutely. Until all the city forefathers got together and decided to put a bunch of restrictions on everything. And you couldn't have a bar open after 2 o'clock in the morning and killed a lot of the business. And,
Well, okay. All right.
It was rowdy, yes, of course. But it was bringing in a lot of money.
Rowdy, I think, undersells it. I'm pretty sure there's a lot of, murder and rape going on because there's so much just ridiculous, debaucherous alcoholism.
Oh, the rape probably, yes, absolutely. Unfortunately, yeah.
I mean the murder's still happening, but a lot less rape.
Yeah, no, because, again, it was the 80s. There was no there was barely any DNA testing or anything like that, or you know what I mean? I mean, people got away with a lot of shit in the 80s. You know, it's just crazy. But anyways,
You sure did.
but listen, Jay, that's a great fucking story for What the F Florida Man, or What the F Florida Man. How about that? How about that, right? That sounds about right. Yeah, exactly. Anyways, but thank you, Jay, and appreciate it very much. And that's going to bring us to our main topic for the evening, which is, of course, Native American creatures and monsters. And we're going to get into it here in a second. So don't go anywhere. We'll be right back.
The real-life fictional drama in lives behind the law in the show that is making America cry.
These IF-75s are a mess, and we're already 3 months late with the UCC addendum after we lost the 8th Circuit paperwork the first time around. Jeez, I really need to whack off.
Law. They play hard, and they work hard. Really hard. Catch it Thursdays on Weasel before it catches you.
You think you're American, but do you drink American?
Lager. The beer that brought the forest down.
I like to relax after a hard day at work. And I like to relax hard. Get really drunk. So drunk, you can't tell your sister from your wife. Now that's fun. And now I can do it without gaining pounds, thanks to new Lager Light. Drink even more, gain less. It's the Lager Light promise. At first, the guys were like, I didn't know you drank light beer. Are you gonna start wearing dresses and drinking wine coolers too? Well, then I explained it facilitated alcoholism without the attendant weight gain, and they really switched. Now we're all lager men.
Lager Light. We're light in the beer, not in the loafers.
Thanks everybody for joining us back at here Dark Fringe Radio. And tonight we're getting into a really interesting topic here, Jay. A lot of times when we talk about history, we always talk about American history and a lot of other different history, things happen in the UK, Roman history, and what happened in Egypt.
We talk a lot of world history, and we talk a lot of U.S. history. We do not talk a lot of American history, and I think that's
correct. Yeah, no, absolutely, Jay. You hit the nail right on the head. You're right. Absolutely. We don't talk about enough about the native U.S. history. And we're talking about pre-Columbian U.S. history. And what I mean by that is Native American history. And we don't really talk about it that much because it seems to get, it really seems to just be swept under the carpet a lot of the times. And, it's just like, it seems like the history books start when Columbus got here and that was it. Like you said, Jay. Go ahead, Jay.
Yeah, and what's sad is it's not even really just about that. Yes, they do seem to start 1492. Columbus sailed the ocean blue. He wasn't even the guy that discovered America. He came around way later. He just brought around fucking herpes. Anyway, but you're taught that, which is very antiseptic. It's very clean. It's very easy to remember. It's also very wrong. Right. And what you end up with is you end up kind of glossing over, and then you find this people that not only did we steal their land, not only did we relocate them against their will, but our government even fought amongst itself to hurt these people, and we just tend to spread over. It's a shame. Good. It's a shame. Yeah. I mean, it is an ugly part of our history, but it's one that we can't forget because that's kind of part of the problem.
No, and Jay, I know you have some type of Native American blood in your history. I know you do, right, Jay?
I don't.
No, actually, you don't. I thought you did.
I don't. I know. Okay, so I wasn't going to talk about this. It's funny because right before we connected, I was like, it's funny. So okay.
I always thought you did. I thought you had at least Cherokee in you or something like that.
Yeah.
But go ahead.
So my dad was a very dark man. But he wasn't brown. He was red.
Right.
He was brown, but he was red.
He was red. Yeah.
You would think, and I thought as a kid, that we had some Native American in us because if you looked at my dad, you believed it, and he listened to country music, and it made sense.
And not only that, he had that same cadence, he would think like a Native American person would have.
He was just kind of cool that way.
He didn't say much. Cool. And then when he did say something, it was like you better fucking take Dave to heart, you know what I mean? And it meant something.
If you could,
and then that was it, you know what I mean?
if you could imagine yourself, on the Great Plains
Right.
during those times, and amongst the Native Americans, and you have this one chieftain who just kind of seemed to point you always in the right direction. A very, I'm going to say this and it's going to come off wrong, but a very Papa Smurf, but in a very serious way.
Right.
This
And didn't say much, but when he did, you listened.
Patriarch, that would have been my
Right.
dad. And my dad had also a mural on his back of a topless Indian, Native American woman. Ooh, wow.
It's a weird tie-in, huh?
When he first got it, that's how it was described.
Right.
This is something
how
I
it ended up.
Right. Anyway, so he had a topless Native American woman in a stream with the back of a beautiful mural. But he had it, and it would definitely lead you to think certain things. And I was a naive, dumb kid, and I thought certain things. But no, any Native American I may have said I had in my blood when I was a kid. I was making shit up, apparently.
Okay.
But
well, I do, Jay.
It was while it was not a genetic, definitely not a genetic influence. It was an influence in my life. I mean,
it was. I'm sure it was.
Florida.
Yeah.
But it because we were raised in South Florida, I think it has a little bit more of a special feeling than it might anywhere else in the country, for sure.
Especially at the time that we grew up in, not like now. It's different. You know what I mean?
Right. And I think it definitely influenced my dad with some of his preferences in country music. And that's kind of what I was thinking. It just kind of like that. So I am big into Native American history, and I've studied a lot of things, especially with my love of presidents and government. I've come across things, and I am just a nerd for that kind of stuff. So I have found myself to be a big fan of it, and this is how we have come to bear tonight.
Again, Jay, we talk about how we talk about history, and how it was sold to us a certain way, of course, and then we get older, and we actually start to learn and expound on things, as you said earlier, Jay. But I did it. I pulled it off.
Let me use a
when you say it, it's okay. But when I say it, it's not. What is that? Huh?
What is it? I said it first.
Oh, I get it. Okay. But anyways, but when we talk about the history, we don't talk about enough about their culture. We don't talk about what their beliefs were. And when you talk about the Native Americans, it's really almost like parallel to the pagan religion of maybe the UK. You know what I mean? They believed there was a lot of different gods for everything, every certain little thing. There was a god for the wind. There was a god for the sky. There was a god for there was just everything. Everything was like compartmentalized in its different things, right? And again, we don't talk about the Native American beliefs and what they believed in, and also some of the things that they believed in as far as creatures and maybe monsters in their maybe ethos or realm of what they believe in. Again, there's a lot of things that we don't talk about. I mean, there's of course the Sasquatch, right? Number one, we can just already scratch this one off the list. Number one, but the Sasquatch, that's why it's called the Sasquatch. But again, that comes from a Native American, of course, history and beliefs and texts that they say that there is some type of spirit that lives in the forest. Again, of course, that kind of being.
Yeah, we know my personal preferences and feelings on Sasquatch.
Right.
Like I said, I do believe that when they talk about those things and the stories they tell, and when they talk about some of the things that we're going to be talking about tonight, some of these different cryptids and spirits, and I do think that there is a level of truth to it, but then I also think that there's a level of just like me thinking that my dad was part Native American because he had a topless Native American chick on his back and he's kind of brown.
Yeah.
As awful as it sounds, right? Stereotypes do kind of exist for a reason. And I don't say that in any way to stereotype anything. I'm just saying, very simply, if you are impressionable enough, you can take something, and it's like that game of telephone, right?
Oh yeah,
It
definitely.
starts off one way,
Right.
in a very organic, natural, real way, and
Absolutely.
then somehow it snowballs into something that's really not. And then we end up talking about Bigfoot.
Right. Well, let's talk about one of the first ones I want to talk about, Jay, tonight. It's Thunderbirds. And this one's actually a really
Favorite car.
Yeah. If you're not a kid from the 80s, you don't understand what that means. But anyways, but Thunderbirds, Jay, this is something that I find this one is more interesting to me than all the other ones. You know why? Because Thunderbirds is something that people still have seen as late as like the 1950s. They report.
Why don't you explain what a Thunderbird is a little bit? Give some of our listeners maybe a little more context in case they haven't imagined it or seen it. I know what you're talking about.
Okay.
But maybe give a little description.
Sure.
And then we can pontificate on
Oh, here we go. Throwing the ball right back in my court. I see that, Jay. Very good. Touche. So for the native cultures of the Pacific Northwest, the Great Plains, the Thunderbird was a mythical creature, Jay, that embodied strength, power, and the Thunderbird was a very large, powerful bird. And it was said to be so large, Jay, that it could pick up an orca whale from the sea with an ease, just as it was grabbing an eagle from the sky. So it could pick up an orca like nothing and pick up an eagle at the same time. So as fucking terrifying as that is, the name implies there Thunderbolt was associated with the storms. The massive wings of the Thunderbolt made the sound of thunder when they flapped, supposedly, Jay. And according to some studies, the Thunderbird also shot lightning from its eyes. That's fucking pretty impressive. Awesome. Yeah, that's pretty good. For peoples of the Great Plains, the Thunderbird was a harbinger of rain and which could be welcomed sight in a destructive force, depending on the conditions, of course, and circumstances. Sure. And some, of course, if you're in a drought, you need fucking rain. You're going to want that, obviously. In some cultures, the Thunderbirds go to war with other forces of nature also. The Apu, the Thunderbird, is the summer bird who challenges the white owl woman, supposedly. This is all the Native American culture. The winter bird, to see whose powers are greater. And the Thunderbird stirs up a great black cloud with tremendous noise and wind. Also, the white owl woman stirs up thick, fast-moving white clouds that blow a piercing wind. So that kind of sounds like a tornado to me, right? Like you put those two things together, that's a tornado right there.
So I have been just balls deep in these anthropology documentaries, and
oh, really?
Yeah. I've been learning a lot about Neanderthal and Homo sapiens, and
that's cool.
The kind of evolution of man, and a lot of the new things that they're coming. There's a lot of really crazy shit being found. Did you know that there's a new kind of bee?
I didn't know that, but I'm not surprised.
Digs out sandstone.
No, I'm not surprised.
And it doesn't live like just the queen, and they actually have individual mother pods.
So it's a completely different ecosystem for them.
Whole thing's different.
Oh, interesting. So yeah, again, we don't know shit about nature, but go ahead.
We don't know shit about shit. So
that should be a new a new podcast. We don't know shit about shit. How about that?
We don't know shit about shit. That would definitely be apropos. So,
all right.
This is when I hear these things, I can't help but think. Right, I'm a coach. I work with kids. I have to come up with colorful ways to explain, what we're gonna do, so the kid can not only master that motor skill, but that their brain understands that motor skill of what their body should be doing. And with kids, imagery is huge, especially with letting them understand the world around them. So I love the ideology of the Thunderbird. I don't think there's an actual bird that goes carrying off orca. But what I think you have to explain and tell a story about this big, powerful animal to kind of explain as storms would roll in and as you're hearing things. And I mean, like my mom used to tell me it was the angels bowling. Okay. It's kind of a similar thing, right? If I told my kids, if we didn't have this weird breaking the fourth wall with ourselves and understanding of kind of a thing, if we were a little bit more in tune with nature as the Native Americans are, I could definitely see where these changes of weather, these different eco patterns, they understood them in a way that this kind of explained it to them, and they were able to utilize it not only for their growth and prosperity, but because they believed in it so thoroughly, they actually had an attachment to it. There was an actual interchanging of that energy because they believed in it and because they believed it was real.
Yeah. You know what, Jay? It's totally right what you're saying. It's all depending on what you believe in and what's going on. You know, like you said, your mom gave you that obviously idea that, it's God bowling up there, right? And that's why the thunder, right? And that rolling and that, right? I mean, if you were to put it in that terms, you're like, fuck yeah, that makes sense. That sounds right. You're right, Mom. But then you start, obviously you learn and things, you expound on things. But again, when we're talking about the Thunderbird, it's a mythological, this mythological creature that it's out there. Yeah, there you go, Jay. Thank you. My tongue isn't working tonight. Where
stuff when you're talking to
no, it's just it's amazing to me that even something like this, I think it's possible to even happen in just this time. I mean, imagine a bird that's able to do something like that, Shay, to pick up an orca, right? Out of the sea. Which an orca is what, like a fucking 5, 6, 7,000 pound whale, right?
That's a couple tons of apex predator.
Right.
I genuinely don't think there's gonna be anything that's gonna have feathers. Those fucking wings, my guy, would be ridiculous. Okay. You were talking, right? All right. So if we're talking to scale, okay, imagine, if you will, what, a harpy eagle? This would be the kind of animal we're talking about, because it's not gonna hunt like a pelican or a seagull.
I think it's bigger than a harpy eagle, I think, at this point.
Right. But I'm talking scale.
I mean, for it to be able to pick up an orca, right? Think about it.
It's gonna be that style of bird.
Right. No, you're right. Okay, I got you.
It's gonna be kind of foul.
Right. Oh, look at this guy.
Dad joke.
With the foul jokes.
But you got to think about this, right? You take an eagle, right?
Right.
It's going to have a good sized wingspan. What's the biggest fish that thing's picking up? Is it picking up dolphin? It's not picking up dolphin. It's picking up fish that are half to a quarter its size, so it can pick it up. Okay. So now you're talking an orca, which is 20 feet. So you're talking this animal's going to have a wingspan that of like, I don't know, a Boeing 747. There is no animal
60 feet,
no Thunderbird
70 feet, right?
Like that.
Yeah.
No one.
Again,
if you want to go back to the prehistoric, you talk pterodactyl, you talk things like that, then sure. Yeah, possible. I'm not an expert on those things. I haven't watched enough YouTube stuff on those to know their general sizes, and I don't remember any of my dinosaurs.
Think about this though, Jay. Think about this though. Just really quick. We didn't teach Native Americans about dinosaurs, right? If you really think about it, they were able to come up with an idea that there was some giant bird out there that was able to do something like that.
Okay. So again,
think about that. I mean, you know what I'm saying? You know where I'm going with that, right?
I get you. Well, again, not that I don't believe in, not that I only believe in science, because I believe there's more that we don't understand out there, and that science
absolutely, 100%.
I have my own proofs. But what I'm saying is, right, this is that game of telephone. Okay, you have indigenous people in any area at any time for millions of years lived in such small sects and in such a different environment. The world was different. Animals were different. There were things that were bigger. There were things that were scarier. I still don't think there was ever a bird that was big enough to carry off an orca whale. But I think, again, it's just like you hear a story about like the Kraken. There's something that you see, that you catch, that you romanticize, and then this story that was just that, it was a story for kind of entertainment on something that you saw, you now forward, I don't know, a few thousand, if not millennia.
Right.
And
Well, they
that
had
story
that
now
story.
becomes a thing.
Yeah, they had that story on that one. I think it was an oil rig out in the Gulf of Mexico, and there was like a fucking 40-foot squid that like wrapped itself around the whole thing.
Actual
They
giant
caught it
squid.
on video. Yeah, I mean,
Actual giant squid.
wouldn't that be considered like the Kraken? Really, if you really think about it, at the end of the day, that's pretty much the same fucking thing. I mean, imagine a 40-foot fucking squid wrapping itself around a boat that's a lot smaller than an oil rig that's fucking from the all the way top of the top of the ocean, the top of the surface, all the way down to the bottom of the ocean at the end of the day, right? So
100%.
Yeah.
100%. But now go back, and how many times has a Kraken been described as more than just a giant squid?
Yeah, of course.
Because stories over time,
Again, that's when you start romanticizing certain things, right? Yeah.
you start creating these bigger legends.
Yes, of course.
There's nothing, and there's nothing wrong with giving history scope, and there's nothing wrong with giving education and entertainment so it sticks. You just got to make sure that you keep a certain contact, because otherwise, if you start to get too out of touch with reality, you end up in a dark
then again,
thinking that there's ghosts behind you, motherfucker, and your best friend.
And it's completely not that. Well, listen, talking about some of these other things, skinwalkers is the second one on our list, Jay. And of course, the Navajo have myths and stories about the terrifying creature known as a skinwalker. Shapeshifters also have been widely talked about in the Native American, mythos and things that they believe in. The skinwalker is a mythical entity that has the ability to transform itself into an animal or a human that it wants to. So basically, it's a shapeshifter. It can do whatever it wants. It can turn into an animal, a bat, a cat, a dog, or whatever it wants to be. But it also can turn into a person. Like I can turn into Jay all of a sudden, and then then there's two Jays out there. You know what I mean? Just one evil, one good.
We don't need that.
But this is like one of the more interesting ones here, Jay, because it's been romanticized a lot because of Skinwalker Ranch, obviously out in Utah. And if for those that don't know about that, you can look back in our catalog of episodes and look up Skinwalker Ranch, and we did a whole episode regarding that. But Skinwalker is, of course, a big part of that area. And Jay, what do you think about this? This has been one of the ones that have really gained a lot of steam in the last 10 to 15 years.
Well, I like it. I like the Skinwalker ideology. The Skinwalker resonates with me. Okay, and so going into a little bit more depth, William and I started doing this a few years ago. It's episode 3, by the way, guys. Episode 3 talks about Skinwalker Ranch, and it's the first episode I'm on, and I'm only on a segment of it. I came on to talk about the Mayweather-McGregor fight. But after it was released, I listened to it, and as I was listening to that episode, poor William joining on by himself, explaining what Skinwalker Ranch was and what Skinwalker was, may have been the most boring 22 minutes of my life. But
thank you, Jay.
You're welcome. It did kick off.
Humble beginnings.
Listen, boring as it may have been, if it reaches one person, it's a success, right?
Okay. And we got to 5,000 on Facebook, so listen. There you go.
And it all started with one.
Right. Yeah.
I was the first.
Yeah. There you go.
I got to blow that on YouTube. So, anyways, episode 3, I'm listening to them talking about these skinwalkers, and with my experiences and things kind of being ethereal, whether you want to call them ghosts or apparitions or whatever you want to call them. But like we were kind of talking about that video earlier, I do believe that energy is transferable. I believe that the energy kind of transforms as it goes from one stage to the next, to as it reaches through these different planes. I also believe that if given enough time and understanding of certain things in a way that we may have actually lost touch with, because we're too in contact with a synthetic reality and not with the natural reality. I don't mean that as to say I believe we're in pods with things on our head like the Matrix. I do mean I believe that we are,
or
too
even the
attached to our
supernatural.
phone.
Yeah, no, absolutely,
And,
Jay.
and we end up missing out on these things. I believe
Of
there's
course.
a sensitivity. That's why I believe that as there are a few of us now that can perceive things, and I say a few of us, and only because I've only seen and experienced things I've seen experience, but I've met people who haven't, and I understand why. Whether you want to be open
They
to it or
haven't been
not,
open
some
to that
people-
side yet. Yeah, that's what it is.
and sometimes whether you want to be or not, you are.
Right.
Or
Oh, absolutely. It's not a
expected
choice.
to.
It's not a choice. No.
My point. So I think if you go back through the time, I could imagine someone having, as silly as it's going to sound, an understanding to where they could interact with transforming and dimensionalism. I don't know necessarily. I'm saying dimensionalism. I don't know if they would open a portal and be like, I'm gonna go to another dimension.
That's a good
But
one. I like that.
you
That's a new phrase, Jay.
I do-
Dimensionalism.
Hey, it all starts somewhere, right?
There you go.
It all starts somewhere. But I think if you have someone who has a connection, you have these people who can sit and meditate for a certain amount of time, and they are really in connection with the area around them, because you don't have a choice. You are connected to it.
Right.
I think as they transform and go on to the next plane, I do think they might have had an ability to show a certain way. And I do also still think there's some storytelling here. I think there's some shaman, there's some people doing these things, teaching these things from one lesson
Metaphors
to another, because you have to believe it.
Right.
Because they believed that, again, it was real. And because it was real, it existed to an extent. I don't think anybody actually jumped out, like I said, little portal, like a little ring, like, Rick and Morty jumps out. All it's like, check this out, fuckers. I'm a pickle.
Hey, yeah.
Right? It didn't work out.
Well,
but I do believe that there's some contact there with another energy. And I think that Skinwalker Ranch kind of proves that there can be areas where it's stronger and there's a magnetism to it. I'm gonna show it.
yeah, listen, it does lend a lot of validity to the Skinwalker legend. Of course, the stories surrounding the Skinwalkers are pretty, crazy on their own. Jay, they're always up to like evil shenanigans, supposedly, according to people, and they're always breaking Navajo taboos, in specific, really, honestly. In their nefarious rituals, they pervert every convention of the Navajo tradition, including, Jay, which I found really interesting, performing such unthinkable acts such as creating sand paintings onto a split. So what they do, it's like they supposedly, like, if the Navajos are doing their own rituals and something goes against what they're doing, they automatically blame that on the Skinwalker. And that has obviously, a lot to do with their obviously beliefs and what they're doing. And that's just a big, hindrance on what they're trying to do. Obviously, they're trying to, obviously do positive things with the area and whatever it may be, either, blessing an area or being able to do things in an area, of course, or cleansing an area of bad energy or whatever the case may be. But traditionally, the intent of the Skinwalker seems to be to harm humans. And the Navajo people, what they believe is that in the past, into modern times, they report that Skinwalkers will attack people walking alone in specific. And they will try to break into houses and even attack moving cars, Jay. Supposedly, that's what they believe. And these creatures are fast and agile, and their agility and ability to shapeshift makes them impossible to capture, supposedly, Jay. They don't leave behind footprints, so they cannot be tracked, according to the Navajo stories. Yeah, exactly. According to the Navajo stories, the only way to kill a Skinwalker is to dip a bullet into white ash and shoot the creature with that. Of course, naturally, the people want to look out for a rational explanation for the skinwalker phenomenon. It could be that the skinwalkers are nothing more than mangy dogs or coyotes or a cougar or bear attacks or whatever. But the fringe theory, however, claims that the entity known as the skinwalker is somehow able to use the DNA of other animal hides, basically, and human hair to manipulate its own DNA and copying it. So, again, that's the reason why supposedly they can't really track it, or whatever the case may be. But that's a pretty interesting phenomenon with the skinwalkers, huh, Jay?
Yeah, I think there's two things getting kind of intermixed into one
Maybe.
with some of it.
Yeah.
I don't know enough about the inner workings of the Navajo and whatnot to know exactly
No. I
what
get you.
they were
Me
doing
neither.
so much. But I remember going all the way back and doing that, talking about them being bulletproof. And my feeling was always that there was something, because again, you can't double take down a ghost, right?
Of course.
The Navajo also didn't always have bullets. So skinwalkers, and that was the only way to kill a skinwalker before there was bullets. There was no way to kill a skinwalker.
That was the only way to do it, right? At the end of the day, right?
Right. So again, I think you have some legends and some mythos kind of getting intermixed with some things that were actual evil done by actual bad people back in actual time, where you could kind of get away with it, especially if you were actually kind of a dick.
Yeah, that's like the medieval way of trolling, right? In a way.
Yeah. I mean, it's easy to pretend you're something or to look like something or to lure someone over. You know, I could see a lot of things kind of leading to that legend. I
could too.
There's some bad shit happening at that Skinwalker Ranch. I don't think a lot of it has to do with necessarily skinwalkers.
No, there's a lot of things happening there. That's
there's a lot of shit
that. Yeah.
There's a lot
But that's
of
a whole. We did a whole episode on that. But yeah, I think it was episode 56. Yeah, no, check that out. But another one I wanted to bring up, Jay, is the Wendigo and the Witchuge. So that's a pretty interesting one. I know you probably have a little bit of knowledge on the Wendigo, but in the northern Algonquin traditions, the Wendigo was the spirit of the winter, basically. So, of course, like again, we were talking about the pagan type of traditions, how everything had a god.
Yep, the
same thing we're talking about here. Same thing we're talking about here, right? And so the spirit of the Wendigo, which can transform into a man, woman, or child, in a cannibalistic type of being, with the heart of ice, and in time it would grow into a giant if it needed to. So this is a very fearful creature in the Navajo, or of course the Algonquin traditions. And Jay, the Wendigo is something that you don't really want to mess with this particular one. I know there's a lot of other ones that we talk about in the Navajo tradition, but this one seems to be a little bit more nasty than the other ones. The Wendigo, for instance, a mythical creature of several Algonquin tribes in the Witchuge tribe, similar to the end of the Albaskan tribes of the Northwest Canada, were both magical creatures with a taste for human flesh. So there you go, right there. Problem number one. The Wendigo and the Witchuge may have been compared to today's modern zombies, basically. Pick your zombie show or movie there, insert. But they were described as being ghostly, gaunt, with sunken gray skin, hollow eyes, and shuffling with a shuffling gait. So basically like a zombie, like, slowly, like, trying to get to you, whatever the case may be. But they reek of death and resemble walking corpses. So again, we're, getting into the zombie thing. The Witchuge differs slightly from the Wendigo in that, according to the Baskin stories, the creature was formed from the glacial ice and brought to life. Its heart is frozen and thus unfeeling. It's pretty crazy. And the Wendigo, on the other hand, was once a human that became a beast through cannibalism. So, I mean, it's just crazy that they come up with these, obviously stories, right, Jay?
Well, okay. So again, not to be the full skeptic. I'm kind of coming off as a bit of a dick here, but
Right.
but I
Go ahead.
could, if I'm being honest, see back in the days, right? You have some people who live in a very cold area or where it gets very cold in the winter. One of those things you have to be very prepared for. So you have people going out, getting caught in areas, and maybe getting things like frostbite. You end up out with people who are, as they are dying, their bodies are getting more cold, they're moving slower because your blood is literally freezing. They start to grab, or they're starting to die, or they're expiring right in front of you. You see their body freeze up as they're touching you. Just how cold that would be on your skin as you're out there in the cold could hasten like that frostbite and leave that mark. And here you go, you've got the bite of the Wendigo. You get the zombie story. You get with some truth to it, with a little bit of these are things you have to watch out for if you're out in the cold. If you're out hunting, make sure you're covered well. Make sure you watch out for the bite of the Wendigo. You want to make sure that you stay away from
is that the bite of the Wendigo or is that frostbite?
Depends on how American you are.
All right. Ooh, there you go. But that's what you're talking about, though, Jay. I mean, that's exactly what you're talking about. I mean, and it's all like, it's funny because it's all in the language. It's all right there in front of us. And it's like almost like hidden in a way, but it's not, because it's like you're talking about literally that thing. It's a bite, but it's not really a bite, but it's also called frostbite. You know what I mean? So it's just like, God
it's
damn,
poetic.
Like
it's a beautiful way to explain the environment around you to make sure you understand to what you're interacting with. The earth is we've treated it for so long. No, I mean, going beyond just what we talk about, not talking about history, not talking about Native American history, and if you look at the planet, and we've treated it so long, like it's just this lifeless rock. When in reality, it's not. It itself has a life. It has a pulse. It is something. Nature is something that is alive. Trees are alive. There's so much to it that is all organic and all because it's all intermingled. 100%. And they had a much better understanding because they were more in tune and touch. And we have gotten out of touch with it. And I think because of that, we have trouble really getting in touch with that side. But it's beautiful, it's poetic, and I'm sure there's some truths to some of the things they were afraid of. And I'm sure some things could be more than what they were.
Yeah, no, and it's amazing that we're able to kind of connect the dots, to the things that they were saying and to the, what they were actually saying. You know what I mean? It's not like a lot of it was, symbolism or whatever it was. It wasn't. It wasn't like taken on purpose. Like it was obviously, symbology. It was just a different way of saying what happened, obviously, and I think we're starting to understand that more now and starting to correlate now more so with the Native American, traditions and cultures and maybe legends and things of that nature to what's going on now.
I would explain a lot. I mean, again, with all the things the earth is currently going through, it wouldn't hurt us to try to look more and not just Native Americans who had an understanding and there was a mysticism, but there was some reality to it. They really were able to.
They were the first people.
Incredible things.
Think about it. They were the first people.
If you look all over the planet, there's a lot of things that we've lost touch with as we become civilized. I think it would help us if we got a little less civilized, a little less
uncivilized.
Civilized. Let's remain civilized, friends.
I get you. Yeah. Well, listen, Jay, I think that's a great punctuation for tonight, and I'll wrap up for the Navajo and all of the Native American, creatures and monsters that they talk about in their culture and history. There's so much more, Jay. We could literally do another part 2 to this, which I want to do later on because there's literally like another 7 or 8 things that we could talk about. Yeah, there's a lot of them, and I really want to do that in the future. So, but for everybody that doesn't know how to listen to our episodes, you can go to our website, darkfringeradio.com, and listen to all our episodes, and make sure you go to our all our social media. Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter at Dark Fringe Radio, and of course YouTube at Dark Fringe Radio. Make sure you like and subscribe. But we're there and available for you guys, and we have a lot of content out there. So make sure you go ahead and enjoy and try to get into all of our stuff and spread the word. Of course, that's the whole thing. More people that know about us, the better. So we really appreciate the support. And again, we thank you for the support on Facebook, and we love to see more of that support on YouTube. So whatever you can do, like and subscribe to our stuff, and we really appreciate it. Anything for the rest of the night tonight, Jay, before we say goodbye? Goodbye.
Be aware of what's around your friends. Always keep your wits about you, both of what's physical and metaphysical. Be open to what's around that's positive. Try to close out what's negative, and treat people with some kindness. We all need.
There you go. Don't be falling into no portals.
We're chasing no water babies.
Oh, there we go. Yeah, that's another one. Yeah, actually, Jay, it's funny you say that, and not to make a long story short, but one of the next ones in the Navajo, or not Navajo, but Native American legends and creatures, but there's one that acts like a water baby and will take you under. So again, if you don't remember that one, go check that one out. That was I think, what was that one on, Jay? What episode was that? The water babies one? That was on Utah, or
it was one of the more recent ones because Pete was there too.
Yeah,
I want to say it was the first or second episode with Pete. I don't remember what we were talking about. Like we were talking about, I think we were just talking about cryptids.
I think it was like cryptids,
You brought up the water babies.
Yeah, the water babies.
Yeah, and I was like, bro, fuck that shit. And you're like, no,
well,
check this
Jay
out.
Would fall for it. That's why.
You'd be like, you'd be the first one to fall for it.
Oh, Jay would be the first one. Oh, absolutely, 100%.
Unfair.
I'd be like, Jay, there's no fucking baby out there. Stop. Get your ass back over here.
You don't know. I gotta look.
I do know. Shut the fuck up. I do know.
I'd be done.
Get your ass back over here, Jay.
Okay, I'd be the first.
Anyways.
If that was the horror movie we were making, I'd be the first one.
Yeah, you would. Yeah. Anyways, thanks for joining us on another episode of Dark Fringe Radio. We'll be back next week with some more interesting ideas and topics and things for you to think about. Of course, here at Dark Fringe Radio, we love you, and we'll see you again next week.